Story 1. The Hungry Ghost Knocks on the Door by Wei, Chinese student in New York. Have you ever heard knocking in the middle of the night and known it wasn't from a person? My name is Wei. I'm a student here in New York, originally from Sichuan, China. I came to the US for college, and life here feels so different. More logical, more distant from the world I grew up in. But sometimes I still dream of that summer. The one I don't talk about. The one that made me believe in spirits. Where I'm from, we have a month every year when the gates of the underworld are said to open. It's called the Zhongyuan Festival, or Hungry Ghost Month. People burn incense and joss paper to honor the dead. There are rules you're supposed to follow. Never stay out too late, don't whistle at night, don't swim, and most important of all, don't turn around if someone calls your name in the dark. That means they know it. When I was 14, I didn't take any of that seriously. I was like any dumb kid who thought old traditions were just stories meant to scare children. My grandma would tell me, "You can't see them, but they can see you." I'd just roll my eyes. That summer, some friends and I got bored and dared each other to go to an old crossroads near our neighborhood. It was a forgotten place, overgrown with weeds, with a crumbling stone shrine that no one used anymore. Crossroads are dangerous during Ghost Month. They're believed to be gathering spots for wandering souls. We brought joss paper and a lighter. No incense, no respect. We laughed as we burned fake money, joking that we were making ghost friends rich. The whole time it felt off. The air was too still, like even the wind didn't want to be there. After we finished, my friend Liang tossed the rest of the paper into the shrine and yelled, "Come get it, ghosts!" We all cracked up. Then we ran home, thinking nothing of it. That night, I stayed up late playing games on my computer. My window was open because it was hot. Around 2:14 a.m. I heard it. 3 slow knocks on the glass. Knock, knock, knock. I froze. My room was on the 3rd floor. At first I told myself it was nothing. Maybe a bird or some branch in the wind. But the next night, it came again. 3 knocks. A little later this time, 2:31. The 3rd night, I didn't sleep at all. I just waited. And when it came, at 2:47, I knew something was wrong. Because that night, after the knocks, it whispered my name. The voice was faint, like it traveled a long, long way just to reach me. It came from outside the window, way, not loud, not angry, just soft, hungry. I didn't move, I didn't breathe. I stared at the window, but there was nothing there, just the curtain gently moving in the warm night breeze. You know how sometimes your mind tries to explain things so you don't panic? I told myself maybe I imagined it. Maybe I was so freaked out by the knocks that my brain filled in the rest. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed in my room. The air felt heavier, like I wasn't alone. The next morning, I told my grandmother. I didn't expect her to believe me, but as soon as I mentioned the crossroads, her face changed. She stopped folding laundry and just stared at me. "What did you burn?" she asked. "Joss paper," I said. "That's it." "Did you offer incense, food?" I shook my head. She looked disappointed. Not angry, just deeply sad. "You didn't make an offering. You made a deal." That didn't make any sense to me. I asked her what kind of deal, and she wouldn't answer at first. Then she said something that stayed with me ever since. During Ghost Month, even, fake money is real. You fed something. Now it knows your name. That night I tried sleeping with the window locked, curtains drawn, lights on. But at exactly 3:03 a.m., I woke up to the same 3 knocks. Knock, knock, a knock. But this time, the sound came from inside the room. I turned over slowly and saw nothing. The window was still shut. The door was closed. But the glass of water I left on my desk was vibrating like something had just passed through the room. I didn't sleep at all after that. I started staying at my cousin's house, pretending I needed help with schoolwork. But even there, I'd feel something cold pass by when I closed my eyes, like fingers brushing against my face. On the sixth night, I came home to get some clothes. Grandma was sitting in the living room waiting for me. She told me my grandfather wanted to speak with me. That scared me more than anything. He was a quiet man, the kind that never raised his voice and never talked about spirits. But that night he sat me down in front of his altar, lit 3 sticks of sandalwood incense and said, "Tell me everything." So I did. Every word. The crossroads, the paper, the knocks. When I finished, he nodded solemnly. Then he said, "You have 1 more night. After that, it won't knock anymore." I asked him what that meant. He looked me in the eyes and said, "Because it will have found a way in." That whole day, my chest felt tight. It was like something heavy was sitting on me and wouldn't let go. Even the sun seemed weaker, like it didn't want to stay up. My grandfather spent most of the afternoon preparing. He pulled out a thick red cloth-wrapped bundle from a locked drawer, a small wooden box, a string of coins tied with red thread, a jar of ashes, and what looked like a brush made from bamboo and horsehair. He didn't explain any of it. He just worked in silence, muttering things I couldn't quite hear. When the sun dipped behind the mountains, he called me over. We sat cross-legged on the floor in front of the family altar. The incense was already burning, thick and sweet. He told me to keep my eyes closed and not to speak no matter what I heard. I tried to ask a question, but he cut me off. "It's already watching. The door is not open yet, but tonight it will try." The ritual began. He chanted low, rhythmic words that seemed to shake the room. His voice echoed strangely, even though it was just the 2 of us. And then, right around 3:17, it knocked again, but not on the window this time. Knock. Knock, knock. It was at the front door. I kept my eyes shut, but I could hear it scraping, like fingernails dragging across the wood. Then I heard my name. Wei. It was closer now. Inside the house. Wei. The temperature dropped. I could feel my breath in the air. My skin felt tight, like something cold and wet was pressing against it. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But I remembered what my grandfather said. "Don't open your eyes. Don't answer." The chanting grew louder, more urgent. He threw something into the fire. There was a loud crack, like a firecracker going off, and the whispering stopped. Then silence. The incense stopped burning. The flame flickered and died. When I finally opened my eyes, my grandfather looked exhausted. Sweat poured down his face, but his expression was calm. He took a deep breath and said, "It's gone, but not far, not forever." I asked him what it was, what I had fed. He told me there are spirits who have no family, no name, no rest. When someone offers them something, paper money, a joke, even attention, they grab hold of it like a dog with a bone. But if they learn your name, they become hungry for more. You invited it, you ignored the rules, and now it will always remember you. That was almost 10 years ago. I've never gone back to that crossroads. Every Zhongyuan festival, I still burn incense and joss paper properly. Never at night, never alone, and never without food. I still hear the knocks sometimes, but only in my dreams. Story 2. She was buried with her phone. By May. Have you ever received a message from someone you know after they've died? My name is May. I'm studying economics here in New York, but I'm originally from Hubei, a province in central China. Life here is full of logic, schedules, and science. Everything makes sense, most of the time. But back home, things aren't always so clean-cut. We still believe that some part of a person lingers, especially if they leave suddenly, or if their soul isn't at peace. I never believed in ghosts growing up. My mom would burn incense during Qingming and Hungry Ghost Month, and I'd just nod along. But there's one thing my family has always taken seriously: the first Saturday night after someone passes. That's when they say the spirit might return, just for a moment, to see the people they loved. It's not a formal ritual, just something whispered from grandparent to grandchild. You leave a light on, stay quiet, and don't answer if someone knocks. We weren't a superstitious family. But everything changed after my cousin Lily died. She was only 20 when it happened. The kind of girl who lit up a room, funny, loud, addicted to her phone. We used to tease her that she couldn't go 5 minutes without texting someone or taking selfies. Her whole life lived inside that screen. Then, one rainy night, she was hit by a truck walking home from karaoke. Just like that, she was gone. The funeral happened fast. My aunt and uncle were devastated. When it came time to bury her, they placed some of her favorite things in the coffin. A stuffed rabbit, her favorite earbuds, and yes, her phone. Turned off, no SIM card. It was symbolic. My aunt said she'd want it with her. She never went anywhere without it. The first few nights were quiet. But then, exactly 1 week after the crash, on Saturday night, something strange happened. I wasn't there when it started. I was already back at school in the city. But my aunt called me the next day, her voice shaking. She said the house phone rang at 2 a.m. Not a cell, the old landline, the one no one ever used. The screen just said, unknown. She picked it up, groggy, expecting a wrong number. But there was no voice, just static. And then, the sound of breathing. She hung up, thinking it was just a bad line. But the next night, her cell phone rang. Same ringtone Lily always used, this cheerful pop song. When she picked up, it was the same thing. No voice, just silence. But the number said unknown again. The next morning, my uncle checked Lily's WeChat, even though her account had been silent since the funeral. There was a new post, just one sentence. It had gone up at exactly 2:33 a.m. I'm still cold. Don't forget me. They stared at the screen in silence. Her phone had been buried with her, and the cemetery gates had been locked. After that WeChat message, everything in my aunt and uncle's house changed. They stopped sleeping. My uncle turned off the Wi-Fi, thinking maybe someone hacked the account. But Lily's phone was buried 6 feet under, and no one could explain how that post went up, especially at 2:33 in the morning. My aunt tried to be rational. She told herself maybe the account was somehow set to auto-post. Maybe it was a scheduled message Lily had written earlier. But we all knew that wasn't true. Lily was never the type to schedule anything. She lived in the moment. Still, they didn't talk about it too much. Not right away. In Chinese culture, especially among older generations, people try not to speak directly about the dead. It's seen as inviting them back, but silence didn't stop what happened next. On Sunday night, the next night after that post, my aunt heard the ringtone again. That same cheerful pop song, muffled and distant, like it was coming from under the floorboards. She walked through the dark hallway toward the living room, phone in hand, even though it wasn't ringing anymore. But the sound didn't come from her phone. It came from the corner near the ancestral altar. That was when she noticed something. One of the incense sticks had burned out. It was Lily's. In our tradition, we light incense for our loved ones after they pass, especially during special dates like the 7th day, the anniversary, or festivals. The ashes are supposed to curl upward, clean and unbroken. That means the soul is at peace. But Lily's incense stick had snapped halfway, burned jagged and uneven. The next morning, my uncle went to the cemetery. He asked the caretaker if anyone had been there. The man said no. No one could have entered without a key. The gates had been locked every night. Still, my uncle asked to see the grave, and when they opened the gate and walked to her plot, they found footprints, bare ones, small, leading from the grave to the wall and then stopping as if whoever made them had simply disappeared. That was when they called my mother. When my mom told me, I didn't know how to react. I wanted to be supportive, but none of it made sense. Maybe someone played a cruel joke. Maybe someone faked the message. But part of me remembered Lily, how much she clung to that phone, like it connected her to the world. And then I remembered what my grandmother once told me. If someone dies suddenly, they don't always know they're dead. They still think someone's going to call them back. That night, I couldn't sleep. At 2:33 a.m., my own phone vibrated. It was a WeChat message from an unknown contact, just 3 words. "It's still dark." I stared at the message on my screen, heart pounding so hard I could barely breathe. "It's still dark." There was no profile picture, no name, just the gray silhouette of a blank account. I didn't reply. I couldn't. I just sat there shaking, watching the 3 words burn into my screen like a warning. I called my mom in Hubei, even though it was late for her too. She picked up on the first ring, like she'd been waiting. I told her everything. The message, the time it came, how I hadn't even thought to add the number. She was silent for a long time. Then she said something I'll never forget. "You shouldn't have spoken about her." In Chinese belief, when you talk about the dead, especially someone who died suddenly, it gives them a thread, a connection, something to follow. My mom told me that after my aunt received the first call, she went to a temple outside town. There, the abbot said something strange. If she was buried with something she loved in life, she might not want to let go of it in death. That hit my aunt hard. She had packed Lily's favorite things in the coffin out of love. Her Lucky Charm bracelet, a photo of her dog, and, of course, her phone. She said Lily would have felt lost without it, but that might have been the problem. That night, my aunt and uncle returned to the cemetery with the monk. He brought a copper bell, a gourd of glutinous rice wine, and a wooden tablet carved with ancient script. He performed a ritual in front of the grave, chanting while ringing the bell, calling Lily's spirit back to her body, but only to rest, not to return. The wind picked up as he did it, even though the night had been still before. The air felt charged, like a storm waiting to break. When he finished, he placed the wooden tablet at the head of the grave and told my aunt, "You must speak to her." So she did. Kneeling in front of the headstone, voice trembling, she said, "Lily, baby, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to confuse you. You don't have to check your phone anymore. We remember you. We always will." Then, the monk poured the wine over the grave and burned a final bundle of joss paper. The phone never rang again. The WeChat account deleted itself. One day, it just vanished from all our contact lists, like it had never been there. But sometimes, when I'm scrolling late at night, I hear a faint sound, that same pop song ringtone, just for a second, too fast to catch. I always stop and check. Nothing's ever there, but I don't forget, and I still never bring my phone into a cemetery. Story 3, The Girl Who Wore Red, by Rui. Have you ever smelled something in a dream, so real, so sharp, it woke you up? For me, it was the smell of wet iron, like rust or blood. My name is Rui. I'm from a small town in Sichuan, China. I live in Seattle now, studying computer science. People here don't talk much about ghosts or spirits, not the way we do back home. Here, death is quiet, private. Back home, death lingers. It leaves footprints. When I was 16, my older cousin Ying took her own life. She was 22, beautiful, brilliant, and always a little different. Too quiet at family dinners, too intense when she laughed. No one really knew why she did it. Her mom said she had been acting strange that winter, locking her door, talking to no one. She left no note. What I remember most is the dress. Ying wore this long, bright red qipao with embroidered gold threads. It had been her favorite since high school. After the funeral, her mother burned all her belongings, the books, photos, makeup, everything, as tradition demands. You do that to help the soul let go, to keep it from wandering. Everything, that is, except the dress. The police had returned it to her aunt in a sealed bag, still soaked in blood. The fabric was too thick to burn properly, and the smell made people gag. My aunt said she would deal with it later, put it in a box, hidden in the attic. But that's when strange things began to happen. It was cold that month, the kind of wet Sichuan winter that gets into your bones. Every night, our windows fogged up, and our shoes stayed damp no matter where we left them. One morning, my aunt found footprints in the hallway, bare feet, small, red, wet. They led from the front door to Ying's old room. She thought maybe someone had broken in. But nothing was stolen, and the door was still locked. The next night, more footprints appeared. This time, they started from the stairs. Again, leading to that room. We didn't talk about it. In our culture, if you speak of spirits, you give them power. So we stayed silent, even though every night the floor creaked softly, like someone pacing upstairs. My aunt started leaving bowls of rice at the altar. She whispered apologies before bed, and then, on the 21st day, I heard her crying, quietly in the kitchen. She was holding Ying's phone. It had turned on by itself and displayed a photo. Ying in the red dress, taken a week before she died. It hadn't been on that phone before, and no one had touched it in weeks. After the photo showed up on her phone, my aunt stopped sleeping. I'd hear her pacing late at night, back and forth, sometimes murmuring to herself under her breath, words I couldn't catch, prayers maybe, or apologies. I started sleeping with the lights on in my room. By the third week, everyone in the house could feel it, like the air had turned heavy. It wasn't just the winter dampness anymore. There was a weight in every hallway, a presence. Even my uncle, who never believed in anything superstitious, started taking off his shoes outside the door and lighting incense without a word. I didn't want to believe it either. I told myself it was grief, that we were all just mourning, in different ways. Then came the incident with the cat. My aunt kept a chubby orange tabby named Bao. He was Ying's favorite, used to curl up in her lap while she read. One night I found Bao sitting outside Ying's room, completely still. His ears were flat and his eyes were wide, like he'd seen something I couldn't. I tried to pick him up, but he hissed and clawed at me, something he had never done before. He bolted down the stairs and refused to come back up for days. Then came the dreams. I dreamed of Ying, standing at the foot of my bed. Her hair soaked, her face pale, but her lips were red, the exact color of that dress. She didn't say anything, but her eyes were full of something I didn't understand, like she was asking for something. When I told my aunt about the dream, her face went blank. "That's the third time," she whispered. "Your uncle saw her first, then me, now you." That night, she finally told me the truth, the red dress. She had never taken it to the attic. She had been too afraid to even touch it again. It was still in the house, wrapped in plastic, stuffed in the back of Ying's closet. She said she hadn't burned it because part of her couldn't let go. "I thought if I kept it," she said, "maybe Ying wouldn't leave me." I remember sitting in silence, staring at her. My aunt was always strong, the one who organized every festival, every funeral. But that night, she looked like a shadow of herself. The next day, we agreed to burn the dress, but when we opened the closet, it was gone. There was nothing there but a faint, wet stain on the floorboards. And that night, the footprints came back, this time leading to my bedroom. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat upright in bed, every light on in my room, blanket pulled to my chest like that would do anything, but I couldn't bring myself to lie down, not after what we'd seen. The red footprints stopped right outside my door, damp and perfect. Each toe, each arch, clear as if someone barefoot had stepped out of water and walked across the wood. But they weren't muddy or dirty. They were tinted red, not paint, not ink, something darker. I stared at the door for hours, waiting for the knob to turn. I don't know what I was expecting, but nothing came. At 3:09 a.m., I heard the voice. It was faint, almost like a whisper under my bed. One word, drawn out. G. My cousin used to call me that when we were little. Rui Jie, big cousin. I didn't answer. I couldn't even move. The voice didn't come again, but I heard light footsteps retreating down the hall. They stopped at her old room. The door creaked open, then closed. The next morning, the house was freezing. My uncle found every window on the second floor wide open, even though they were all locked the night before. And in the courtyard, in the ashes where we burned incense every morning, there was something new. A red thread, thin, frayed, tied, in a perfect loop, just like the ones they used to hold funeral talismans. Only this one was damp and it smelled faintly of rust. We called a Taoist priest that afternoon. He came quietly, no fuss. Just nodded when my aunt explained everything. He walked the house in silence, then told us what he felt. She never left, he said, because you never truly let her go. We performed a proper soul-sending ritual that evening, burned more, paper offerings, laid out her favorite snacks, even her old sketchbook. The priest chanted for hours. My aunt sobbed the entire time. I held her hand. For the first time, she didn't pull away. After the ritual, the house felt lighter, like something had shifted. Still, we moved out a week later. My aunt never said it aloud, but I think part of her was scared it might come back. That maybe the dress wasn't the only thing keeping Ying tied here. Before we left, I walked through the house one last time. Everything was boxed, the rooms echoing with emptiness. In Ying's room, the floor was clean. No stains, no footprints. But folded on the bed was something I never told anyone about. A single piece of red cloth, neatly placed, still damp. I shut the door and never looked back. Now, whenever I hear someone say ghosts don't exist, I just nod. But deep down, I remember that winter in Sichuan, and I remember the girl who wore red.